Or something. But terrorism as a specific topic, she's a little bit behind me. Much closer. She's about 5 or 6 points behind me on that. But I think to make sure as terrorism is such a foreign policy issue that is discussed, we want to praise for that.
All right, David, Gloria, and Jeff, stay with us. We're going to sneak in a quick break while we're waiting for Secretary of State Hillary Clinton, former Secretary of State Clinton, to come out and talk to reporters. Stay with CNN.
She spent summer binge watching. Soon, she'll be binge studying.
Now she writes mostly in emoji. Soon she'll type the best essays in the entire 8th grade.
Today, the only Spanish words he knows are burrito and enchilada. Soon, he'll take notes in Espanol.
Get back to grade with the right gear.
From the place with the experts, Office Depot Office Facts. Gear up for school. Gear up for great.
I wanted to know where my family came from. I did my ancestry DNA. The most shocking result was that I'm 26% Native American. I had no idea. It's opened up a whole new world for me.
My I love is finding a different angle.
My I love is season 1, episode 1.
My I love is making a story come alive.
I love is all the things we love to do with our eyes, but it's also having a chat with your eye doctor about dry eyes that interrupt the things you love. Because if your eyes feel dry, itchy, gritty, or you have occasional blurry vision, it could be chronic dry eye. Go to myeyelove.com and feel the love.
We make all of our leather goods here by hand. I ended up picking Weebly to build my website because it was super easy to use, very intuitive, fun actually. I like the idea of being my own boss.
Go to Weebly.com today and make your dream big.
Real is touching a ray. Amazing is moving like one. Real is making new friends. Amazing is getting this close. Real is an animal rescue. Amazing is over 27,000 of them. There's only one place where Real and Amazing live. Book a SeaWorld vacation package and eat free.
If you have moderate to severe rheumatoid arthritis and you're talking to your doctor about your medication, this is Humira. This is Humira helping to relieve my pain and protect my joints from further damage. This is Humira helping me go further. Humira works for many adults. It targets and helps to block a specific source of inflammation that contributes to RA symptoms. Doctors have been prescribing Humira for over 13 years.
Humira can lower your ability to fight infections, including tuberculosis. Serious, sometimes fatal infections and cancers, including lymphoma, have happened, as have blood, liver, and nervous system problems, serious allergic reactions, and new or worsening heart failure. Before treatment, get tested for TB. Tell your doctor if you've been to areas where certain fungal infections are common, and if you've had TB, hepatitis B, are prone to infections, or have flu-like symptoms or sores. Don't start Humira if you have an infection.
Ready for a new chapter? Talk to your rheumatologist. This is Humira at work.
Going to the skate park today?
Maybe.
You can make it great.
Kellogg's Frosted Flakes gives you the sweet spark to go all in and let your grade out.
They're great.
At our 4J only sale, save up to 60% on almost everything in the store. With Executive and Joseph suit separates just $199, plus $39 sports shirts, polos, and shorts, and take an extra 40% off all clearance. Only at Joseph Executive. Donald Trump has a passion for business, and here's your spotlight.
He always said to us, find what it is that you're passionate about and pursue it with your full heart.
His story from the people who know it best. All business, the essential Donald Trump. Tomorrow night at 8.
Welcome back. Hillary Clinton moments away from coming out and speaking to reporters after her national security meeting with a host of bipartisan national security stars, for want of a better term. We'll bring her remarks to you live as soon as she comes out. Let's bring back in David Chalian, Gloria Borger, Jeff Zeleny. Jeff, you have Juliette Kayyem with you. She's a former Obama administration official in the Department of Homeland Security, and obviously a former CNN consultant. She was in this meeting with former Secretary Clinton.
She was indeed, Jake. And Juliette, let me just bring you in here. What was the tone of the meeting like here? Was it a bipartisan meeting? How did Secretary Clinton conduct herself in this meeting?
Yeah, and nonpartisan. I think just as an aside, that was probably the most interesting part of the meeting, is being in a room with people sort of cutting across the ideology. It was mostly, she was asking lots of questions. It focused on 3 themes: the homeland, of course, in light of 9/11 and the anniversary of 9/11, the specific issue of ISIS and how to combat it abroad, and then the more sort of operational issues that we're going to be confronting around the world in terms of the threats. And so she just, I had only met her once before. She took lots of notes. I mean, they say that it's true, and asked questions about what can be done. Can we get the Europeans more engaged with this struggle? And what do we do with the homeland?
And there are people around the table who were in this meeting as well who aren't necessarily, who haven't supported her and have supported positions that she has not been in favor of. What was that dynamic like, particularly with General Petraeus?
Yes, so I have to say, it was very, how do I put this nicely? The vast majority of people in my space, in national security and homeland security, agree on fundamental things. I think that's one of the issues related to the Donald Trump campaign, is just the extent to which some of his opinions are outliers. So everyone who's had a history in this world knows antagonizing our Muslim neighbors is bad, let alone the Muslim community in America. Not just bad because it's wrong, but bad because it's bad as a counterterrorism strategy. It's ineffective. That there's common understanding of. So there's much more commonalities than distinctions between sort of what kind of force or the use of force in, say, Syria or against the war in ISIS.
But was there a conversation about Donald Trump's policies in there, just quickly?
Yes. I mean, I think the extent to which, when and if she becomes president, the extent to which some of the conversations that are going on now have to be addressed specifically. I think in particular, our Muslim neighbors who, if we don't want to fight another war abroad, we need to engage them more effectively in the war. And also Europeans. I mean, to the extent that they are less than willing than us in instances, that's an important piece of the pie.
Julia, thank you very much.
Yeah.
We're going to take a moment here and continue with politics in my conversation earlier today with Democratic Senator Elizabeth Warren. She had a lot to say about a shocking breach of customer trust of one of the nation's biggest banks, Wells Fargo, which was today slapped with fines totaling a record $185 million. The bank admitting 5,300 of its now former employees were involved in a scheme to create bogus accounts. The Consumer Financial Protection Bureau levied its highest fine, $100 million. The independent agency is the brainchild of Senator Warren. So I asked her about it, and here is what she had to say.
This is a staggering fraud, and it is staggering both for how big it is and also for what it says about Wells Fargo. Look, Wells Fargo's turned around and said, hey, we're firing all the workers who were doing this, but not the management team. My view on this is one of 2 things is true. Either they knew, come on, this went on for years and they didn't smell anything in the air about fake accounts and generating all these fees off customers. Either they knew or they didn't know. In which case, how can you run a giant multinational bank? It's a bank, right? They're supposed to keep track of people's money, safety, security, and not know what more than 5,000 of your employees are doing. If they really didn't know, then that tells me that this is a bank that is simply too big to be managed.
So is the fine enough? Does there need to be more regulation, investigation, a congressional hearing?
Yeah, this is the classic. So far as I can tell, and I only know what I've seen in the papers like everyone else, it's not like you need a new law. It's not like, oh, it excludes some creative fraud that might, slip between. No, this was illegal. This was wrong. This was flatly wrong, what they were doing. So it's not that we need more laws. What we need is aggressive enforcement of those laws. And reminder, the CFPB is a cop on the beat. It's someone on the side of all those people, all those customers who had checking accounts to try to level the playing field. But there is this larger question about the management of Wells Fargo. And this is something the bank regulators, the guys who are supposed to keep supervision over the too big to fail banks, really need to take a hard look at.
Warren, earlier today in Philadelphia, we are still waiting for former Secretary of State Hillary Clinton to come out after meeting with her national security team. We will bring that to you live. Gloria Borger, I can't help but think as I listen to Elizabeth Warren talk about Wells Fargo and the extent of the fraud and the $100 million fine from the Consumer Financial Protection Bureau, that I haven't heard Hillary Clinton talk about it.
Right.
She's talking about national security. She's talking about North Korea. That's one of her strengths. This is also one of the reasons why Elizabeth Warren said in the same interview, she feels like she's going to need to be a watchdog of the Clinton administration, because those populist economic issues aren't necessarily the ones that inspire Clinton as they would have done, for instance, a nominee Bernie Sanders.
Remember, Joe Biden once said these aren't issues that come easily to Hillary Clinton because she hasn't spent her lifetime with these issues. Elizabeth Warren has spent her political lifetime on these issues, and I would expect that if she does have a role, if Hillary Clinton were to win, or a role in the Senate, in the administration, that this would be what she would be keeping any administration straight on. I mean, these are her issues that she cares about, and by the way, there were issues Bernie Sanders really cared about. And yeah,
the heart of their fight.
Exactly.
And David, it was just interesting for Senator Warren to say, she anger that many Trump voters feel is real and legitimate, and B, that the idea so you're going to be something of a watchdog of the Clinton administration. She said, you bet.
Yeah, there was no doubt about that. And putting Hillary Clinton on this, if she's successful, I am certain she's going to have to look over her shoulder at Elizabeth Warren in the United States Senate regularly, because we know how Warren feels about these issues. This is, especially Warren and Bernie Sanders teaming up together with Hillary Clinton, president, they're going to try to keep the pressure on cops somewhere.
Yeah, and obviously Sanders and Warren, that's part of their message to progressives.
Well, it's also where the Democratic now in a lot of ways, the younger voters in the Democratic Party. So I think Hillary Clinton would not pay attention to them at her own political peril. I think she understood that during the primaries, and I think if she were to be elected, she would understand that again. And
it's a very sincere argument, though. Elizabeth Warren is not saying, hey, this is, the second coming of Janis Joplin. I mean, she's not pretending that Hillary Clinton is one of them. She's saying it's a progressive agenda. She ran on it. We're going to win, and we need to keep an eye on it.
It's why when Hillary Clinton is up with an ad today talking about reaching across the aisle to work with Republicans, when she's meeting with this bipartisan group today, it gets some of the more liberal progressive wing of the party a little nervous.
All right, be sure to join me Sunday morning for a special September 11th edition of State of the Union. It's 9 a.m. Eastern and noon. As if for the lead, I'm Jake Tapper. Blitzer will bring you Hillary Clinton's comments live in the Situation Room. Thanks for watching.
Happening now, breaking news, nuclear fallout. New details are emerging about North Korea's shocking test of its most powerful nuclear bomb to date. The dictator Kim Jong-un now believed to be pushing for quick development of it that could be mounted on a rocket. Will he target the U.S.? American impact. President Obama is joining world leaders in condemning North Korea's nuclear detonation as unlawful and dangerous, and he's warning of consequences. Presidential candidates Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton are also denouncing the test. What impact will it have on the campaign? Putin Network, Russian government television, airs an interview with Donald Trump, who defends Vladimir Putin, saying the Russian president probably is not interfering in the U.S. presidential race. The Trump campaign says it was blindsided, never knew the interview would air on Russian TV. With criticism growing, will Trump's FBI and Justice Department now believe there's enough evidence to publicly name Russia responsible for the cyber attacks on American political organizations? But there's pushback from U.S. intelligence agencies and some White House officials. Why are they reluctant to call out the Kremlin? I'm Wolf Blitzer. You're in the Situation Room.
This is CNN Breaking News.
We're following the breaking news. The nuclear threat from North Korea suddenly surging with the testing of its largest weapon to date. The device is said to be double the strength of the last nuclear bomb tested by North Korea. A source tells CNN the latest detonation indicates the dictator Kim Jong-un is pushing his nuclear program very rapidly, and its capability is, quote, very troubling. Also breaking this hour, law enforcement and intelligence sources are telling CNN that officials at the FBI and the Justice Department now believe there's enough evidence to publicly blame Russia for cyber attacks on U.S. groups, including the Democratic Party. But the sources are also saying some officials are reluctant including one of Donald Trump's key national security advisors, former Republican Congressman Pete Hegseth, and our correspondents and our expert analysts are also standing by. Our senior Washington correspondent, first is in New York. He's covering Hillary Clinton. She's expected to speak momentarily. Jeff, what are you hearing about what is taking place there? She's conducted this national security briefing.
She has indeed, Wolf. It was a bipartisan meeting of about 16 advisors or so, some joining by video conference, others meeting for about 90 minutes with Hillary Clinton. She listened to a range of perspectives here. Interesting, Wolf. David Petraeus, of course, the architect of the Iraq War surge in 2007 on that list, as well as officials from the Bush administration and the administration and others. But Secretary Clinton trying to make a bipartisan show here that she is ready to be commander-in-chief and reach across the aisle, drawing a contrast to Donald Trump. Now, she took questions and listened to all of these points of views and perspective. Well, this comes at the end of a really long audition week, if you will, for commander-in-chief. She's been going back and forth with Donald Trump here. And this was a very presidential style, optically type of meeting. If you look behind me here, Wolf, you can see the setup. She's going to be speaking here just momentarily. We're at the New York Historical Society building and really wants to draw the distinction and the differences here that she believes in terms of judgment with Donald Trump. So Wolf, a different phase of the campaign here as we are 60 days out now from Election Day, win over some skeptical Republicans still by making the argument in the fight against ISIS. Also, Donald Trump's proposals. There was sort of going through them point by point why they are not the right policies in her view. And it's important to point out all of these participants are not necessarily supporters of her. In fact, David Petraeus was joining by video conference. He has not endorsed anyone in this contest, but these advisors to her campaign. So it was this type of discussion, Wolf, we'll be hearing shortly from the secretary.
So what you're saying is that those national security experts who were briefing, participating in this meeting, not necessarily all of them have formally, publicly endorsed Hillary Clinton for election?
Wolf, it was a group of bipartisan policy advisors. David Petraeus, certainly one person who has not endorsed. Other people on the list also have not endorsed her candidate.